Reborn back to the 1990s. I first burned the manuscript I had handwritten. Then I moved out of the house I rented with Jeremy. In this life, I don't want to have any ties with him anymore. He is now busy dealing with Lara's infidelity issues, and he doesn't have time to let Lara plagiarize my second manuscript. This is also my best opportunity to get rid of them. In my previous life, I wrote countless best-selling manuscripts for Jeremy. He said he would help me manage them, and I just needed to focus on writing. As a result, Lara took my pen name, and she became a world-renowned genius best-selling novelist. I used my vast fortune to support Jeremy, Lara, and Lara's so-called vampire daughter of Jeremy. When I learned all of this and wanted to leave, my talkative son let the plan slip. He said he didn't want to accompany me through hardships. Jeremy locked me up to let me continue writing. After multiple failed attempts to escape, I set the house on fire using the accumulated cigarettes and stacks of manuscript paper. Chapter 1. Holding the thick manuscript in my hands, I almost shed tears. Only I know that after experiencing various things in my past life, I have been reborn. At this moment, I trembled as I took out the lighter from my pocket and ignited the manuscripts that had already been targeted. It didn't matter. These stories and plots had long been deeply imprinted in my mind. The male protagonist of the second novel is based on my image of Jeremy. We were college classmates, and being a college student learning Chinese in the late 1980s is something to be proud of. Jeremy was the person I had a crush on for 3 years during school. Tall and handsome, refined and cultured. I didn't think I was worthy of him. Although he came from a rural background, he was almost every girl's ideal type. And after graduation, I don't know what kind of luck I had, but he confessed to me, excited. I opened a book that night and wrote down all the sweetness of my secret crush over the years, as well as the bitterness of seeing him surrounded by female classmates. A month later, I never expected that this literature on unrequited love would actually be published. At the same time, I also agreed to Jeremy to be his girlfriend. I thought I was achieving success in both career and love, but little did I know it was the beginning of a lifelong tragedy. Shaking my head, I pushed all the memories of my past life out of my mind, finished burning the second manuscript, and stepped out of the door of this rental apartment. Chapter 2. In the 1990s, computers were still rare, and they were all those antique models with large rear projections. In my past life, I was always accustomed to handwriting, and the 3 fingers of my right hand had developed thick calluses that were almost deformed. The middle finger has been deeply worn down. In my past life, after marrying him, he told me to focus solely on writing, and that he would take care of everything else. Not long after I became pregnant, he became so busy that I hardly saw him. I continued to write while enduring physical discomfort. He and Lara got together at that time. Lara was his first love, but unfortunately, she didn't think much of him, a boy from the countryside, and chose to marry someone else. Later, after experiencing domestic violence, she met Jeremy, who worked at the magazine, and Jeremy was heartbroken. The two rekindled their old flame. I stayed at home to take care of the children, watching Mario transition from stumbling steps to running around, gradually distancing himself from me, step by step moving towards Jeremy and Lara. Because in his eyes Lara shone with sunshine and vitality, unlike me who could only sulk alone in the study, smoking and writing. When I learned the truth, Lara pointed at me arrogantly and scolded me, saying I was a mistress. She said I was unworthy of Jeremy, and that I was a worthless woman. At that moment, I realized that my pen name for the novel Vesper had already been claimed by Lara. She said that her unrequited love for Jeremy was the book she wrote herself. She sold books everywhere, signed autographs, took photos, and even had Jeremy this magazine as a witness. Even my editor had never seen me. They enjoyed my fame, my wealth, glamorous and bright, and Lara was even called a genius creator. I discovered it. But what can I do? I'm unwilling to accept it. Clearly, it was my own blood, sweat, and tears. Clearly, it was me who wrote every day until my hands were worn and my pens ran dry. He and Lara stole the work I wrote, and also took away Mario. I begged him to let me go. He wanted to agree, but after going out for a while, he changed his mind. Although he said he was worried that I wouldn't be able to live after leaving, he still let me continue writing. I know he can't let me go. While Jeremy was taking his daughter Alice with Lara to the hospital, I packed my things and those of Mario, preparing to take him away. Unfortunately, my good son went to find his mess. Lara. The moment I was locked in the room, I heard him say, "Mom, you don't deserve Dad no matter how you look at it. If it weren't for you being able to write, he would have stopped caring about you long ago. My dad and MS. Lara, because of you, even sister Alice has become an illegitimate child. Do you still want me to suffer with you outside? You are too selfish. Why did I really have to give birth to him? I really regret it. However, it seems that God also thinks I have suffered too much and has given me a chance to be reborn. Everything is still in time." Chapter 3. After I graduated, I was also assigned a job, but at that time I hadn't had the chance to work at the school yet, and I received a notification from the magazine about my submission. Jeremy said that my personality is too introverted, and he was afraid I wouldn't be able to handle the noise of the children, so I didn't go to school to report. I arrived at school holding my work report form, found the principal, and told him that I planned to go to the southernmost part of the country to teach. This job can be exchanged with others. I want to stay away from Jeremy. The principal was taken aback, puzzled by my choice that went against the crowd. I smiled and said that I was afraid of the cold and hoped to work in a warm place. Although the principal was confused, the vacant position was still very useful to him. After thinking for a moment, he agreed and told me that since I was applying voluntarily, he would try to secure a better school for me. His comrade was at the newly established Nanjing University, and I could go there first to pursue a graduate degree. It was an unexpected joy. Chapter 4. I planned to go to the magazine office to check the manuscript fee for my first book. Jeremy gave me $800, and then took my ID and remittance slip to withdraw the money. Now I want to see how much there actually is. I know the address of the magazine office, and if nothing unexpected happens, I saw Jeremy and Lara here. Jeremy, since Vesper is your wife, why don't you consider switching to our side? Start as a deputy editor. Think about which magazine can offer such high salaries and manuscript fees like we do. A balding uncle was trying hard to persuade Jeremy, while nodding at Lara beside him. He probably thought Lara was Vesper. Lara was just holding his hand, looking at him like a little bird relying on him. What a disgusting display of affection. This Lara is so love-struck that even those with a romantic mindset would find it nauseating. Lara is not tall, but her features are exquisite. The same shirt looks effortlessly stylish on her. Unfortunately, the person is bad. Jessica? What brings you here? Jeremy visibly panicked. I came to check on my manuscript fee. I have some expenses. I replied to him lightly. At that time, he hadn't started working here yet and wasn't managing my ID and such. Glancing at Lara holding on to him, I walked towards the bald editor. Hello, I am Jessica, the author of Returning Wild Goose. Is it convenient to chat? Jeremy frantically shook off Lara's hand and walked over quickly. Jessica, you have to listen to my explanation. It's not what you think. I have nothing going on with the senior. I just helped her handle some matters over there. And then I remembered that editor Wang from the magazine office invited me to discuss your second book. So she followed me over. The bald editor suddenly burst out laughing with a pft. I'm sorry. I just couldn't hold it in. Then he turned to me and said seriously, Jessica, please follow me to the VIP room. Jeremy looked at me in panic, then glanced at Lara who was sitting on the sofa, and followed me and the bald editor into the room. Editor Wang detailed the calculation method for the manuscript fee and the settlement of copyright fees, as well as some other things. Jeremy also coughed and said, Jessica, I already know all these things. Just focus on writing, and leave everything else to me. I will definitely handle it well. Oh, so you've read my second book too. What do you think? I asked him. Very good. It's suitable for adaptation into a TV series, and the adaptation fee is quite substantial. He tried hard to calm himself down, but I recalled the feeling of someone trapped in a small room in my past life. Everything from eating, drinking, to relieving oneself happened in that one room. If he didn't write enough words in a day, he wouldn't get any food, and the urine bucket wouldn't be taken care of. Back then, I wished I could die. Lowering my head, I concealed the killing intent in my eyes. Chapter 5. When I received my publishing fee of 3,000 yuan from editor Wang, I let out a long sigh of relief. No matter how many days were left until the reporting date, I finally had the means to survive. As I left the magazine office, Jeremy was in a dilemma. Jessica, my senior, has some troubles to deal with. I'm worried about her going back alone. Shall we both see her off? Seeing that I didn't say anything, he thought I had compromised. After all, in his eyes, my love for him was endless. In returning Wild Goose, it is even written that I could die for him. Of course, my past self could die for him, but that is different from him asking me to die. Two completely different things. Forget it, Jeremy. Jessica probably doesn't want you to interfere with me. After all, love is about self, and she isn't confident enough. I might as well go home by myself. If people misunderstand me, so be it. The moment when tears are about to fall but don't is the most moving. She just looked at Jeremy, and I couldn't help but nod secretly. It was only right that Jeremy was caught by her. This woman is impressive. You go see him off. I'll go to the bookstore to buy a book. I never intended to be with him, so I naturally couldn't be bothered. Lara turned back to look at me with a proud smile when she followed Jeremy. This provocation is a bit low-level, but I know that as long as I don't get angry, she will provoke me more and more openly. I am waiting for the day she can't help herself. When I returned to the rental apartment, I saw that the principal had given me a new registration form, and I was to go to South City in 7 days. Suppressing the excitement in my heart, I respectfully bowed to the principal. In these 7 days, I want to ruin the reputations of both of them, so that I can study and write without any worries. Chapter 6. Jeremy returned cautiously. He opened the door and saw me eating. Momentarily stunned, Jessica, I forgot to come back and have dinner with you. The way he spoke made it sound like having dinner with me was a great favor. Well, it's fine. I'm in a bad mood today. I burned the manuscript. What? He was instantly furious, wanting to explode, but he bit his lip hard to control himself. I told you, I'm in a bad mood, and I feel like what I wrote is complete garbage. I continued to annoy him. Jessica. He walked over and sat down beside me. There's really nothing between me and the senior. You're too sensitive and misunderstood me. If I had feelings for the senior, why would I confess to you? He wanted to look at me affectionately, but all I could see was food. I bought you some cigarettes. Didn't you say you get sleepy when writing at night? Give it a try. Anyway, I rely on smoking to stay up all night. What the hell is this? From the moment I was reborn, I decided to quit smoking. It's really bad for my health. In my past life, when I was locked up, I coughed day and night, suffering and tossing in bed, and hitting the wall didn't help. This young body doesn't have a smoking addiction yet. I definitely won't touch that stuff. Well, if you have no feelings for her, how about we get married? I put down my chopsticks and looked at him. Marriage? We should pick a good day for that. You don't need to worry about it. I'll choose the date. You just focus on writing, and I'll take care of everything else. I'll support you. Let me think for a moment about what story I want to write. How about a story where the female protagonist is bullied by the male protagonist and his love interest, and then comes back for revenge? I plan to list the characters that will appear in the book, but my mood has been really bad lately. I'm afraid I won't be able to write. Jeremy, can you keep me company for a couple of days? What I mean by companionship is of course being with me for eating and drinking. He has someone in his heart and is not interested in me, while I, Lara, am also not interested in that matter for revenge. How about you don't go back to the dorm tonight and just sleep on the floor at my place? Lara will be furious when she finds out tomorrow. Chapter 7. For 2 days Jeremy has been accompanying me right after work, watching movies with me, shopping with me, and cooking for me. After dinner, I read a book while he paced restlessly around the room. It's like a blindfolded donkey. I suppose it's the same for Lara over there. When your most loyal admirer suddenly stops admiring you, even someone like Lara who always has people around her would feel confused. I was even more angry. I secretly laughed. After dinner on the third night, I said to Jeremy, I'm going to take care of the school registration certificate. You stay home and rest." He was about to say something, but suddenly closed his mouth again. "All right then, I'm a bit tired too." He didn't dare to look me in the eye. I put on my canvas bag and stepped out the door. The flickering streetlights in the alley made me uneasy. I hid in the shadows. Sure enough, 5 minutes later, I saw Jeremy walking out quickly, still wearing the shirt I bought with my manuscript fee, in perfectly tailored thin trousers. I even sprayed on some perfume. He walked quickly outside, rushing towards his love. I heard him dialing at the public phone booth on the street. Heard him say he was an editor at the magazine office, looking for Vesper, and then repeatedly said sorry before hanging up the phone. Then, a few minutes later, the phone rang, and I heard his awkward laugh, constantly explaining. Heard him start to express his longing, and then the two agreed on a hotel. 10 minutes after he left for the hotel, I walked up to the phone booth, inserted a coin, and redialed the number I had just called. "Hello, who are you looking for?" A coarse voice from the man across the way echoed. "I am Vesper, looking for you." I calmly introduced myself. "What the hell is going on? Today there's someone looking for Vesper, and another claiming to be Vesper. What's the deal?" The man across the way was getting impatient. "Lara is currently with my boyfriend at the XX hotel. Do you want to come with me to see?" I extended a soulful invitation. Chapter 8. The nights in the 90s were hot and noisy. The man across seemed to be stuck, taking a minute before replying. "Is everything you said true?" "Of course. If we go now, we might still catch the live show. But unfortunately I don't have a camera. Do you?" I sighed deeply. "In 3 days. I will be able to leave. In these 3 days, I must ensure that these two will never harm others again in their lifetime." "Who the hell do you look down on?" "I have a camera, and it's the best one." The man hung up the phone angrily, and I felt relieved. The hotel was just down the street, extremely shabby. I don't know what kind of building it was converted from, filled with a low-grade smell. I stood outside waiting, and soon I saw a tall figure appear, breathless from running. "Comrade, I am Vesper." I quickly stepped forward to introduce myself, while the receptionist looked at us with a strange expression. Deep down, I wondered why a man and a woman coming to check into a hotel didn't know each other and needed the woman to introduce herself. Then her gaze towards me was filled with contempt. "No, I really am Vesper." Lara's husband boldly threw 200 yuan on the counter and quietly asked, "Is there a short woman who came in 20 minutes ago? Where is she?" The little girl Lara stared wide-eyed at the 200 yuan, pushed the registration book towards us, and said, "Oh, my stomach hurts. I need to go to the bathroom." Then she picked up the money and ran away. I looked at the registration book and found Jeremy's handwriting. Jeremy. Vesper. No. Is this Lara crazy? Why is my name written down for the room? This pen name is no good anymore. It's too dirty. The tall man threw the camera into my arms. "In a moment. I'll kick the door. You take the picture." He arrogantly lifted his leg and was about to move forward. I gently tugged at the corner of his clothes. "Do you still want to live with Lara?" "Little sister, what nonsense are you talking? Me, living with her? I've already turned into a green-haired turtle, and I still want to live with her?" "Little sister, don't be confused. You don't understand this, man. If your partner can sleep with someone else once, they can do it countless times. Don't think too much. I'm a man, and I understand this best." Big brother, fearing I might get confused, stayed back to educate me. "All right, big brother, listen to me. I can make sure these two don't separate." I thought of my second plan. Chapter 9. In my past life, I remember Jeremy saying that Lara's husband would be abusive. My first plan is to let him see with his own eyes Lara cheating with Jeremy. Then he would get angry and start hitting people. No matter who he hits, I won't lose out. But this big brother seems to be a good person. He really shouldn't get associated with the label of violence. How will he find a partner in the future? Not separating? Big brother looked at me in horror. "Little sister, do you have glue? This stuff really makes it impossible to separate. But it would be so embarrassing for both of us." He instinctively glanced at the canvas bag I was carrying. "Since my rebirth, I have been carrying a tremendous amount of resentment. But this resentment was like a fully inflated balloon, punctured by a single word from Big Brother. Lara really isn't suitable for him. I can't imagine what kind of partner Big Brother could find in the future. No. Let me explain. I took a deep breath and shared my plan with him. Big Brother was taken aback but nodded in agreement. His gaze towards me still felt a bit strange. We hurried forward, passing through the dimly lit corridor that smelled of dampness. Arriving at the door of room 609, a woman's soft laughter came from inside. Big Brother nodded at me. I gestured to Big Brother. He held the cigarette in his mouth, kicked open the door, and then quickly left. I also rushed in and took photos excitedly, but upon closer inspection, it was all over. Chapter 10. I found the wrong person, but the two of them were completely confused. I'm sorry. You two continue. Continue. I hurriedly exited and closed the door behind them, leaning against the wall in a state of panic. What's wrong? But the registration book clearly states room 609. I kept thinking, and suddenly it dawned on me that this was all messed up. It should be 906 instead. The registration book had our numbers reversed. I really want to smoke a cigarette to ease the awkwardness. Before I could find room 906, the door to 609 opened again, and a man and woman inside hurriedly pulled up their pants and rushed out. When they saw me, they froze for a moment, and the man tossed me a wallet. It really makes me laugh and cry. They actually caught the wrong person in the act. I put my wallet in the canvas bag, and when I looked up, I saw that the room across from me had opened again. So room 906 is directly opposite room 609? Jeremy's face appeared, looking around left and right. I quickly pushed open room 609, hoping the police would arrive soon. Right here, officer. I saw that girl crying and shouting for her man to stop soliciting, and that man just pushed her aside. I don't know how much Big Brother paid the actor to say that in front of room 609. Jeremy calmly closed his door, while I took the initiative to open mine, revealing my tear-stained eyes. There are onions in the canvas bag. It's across the street. My man is soliciting over there, and there's no one in my room. I openly let the police look inside the room. My partner's name is Jeremy, and he solicited. Chapter 11. After a flurry of chaos, Jeremy in his shorts and Lara in her tank top were squatting on the ground. Soon, in the dimly lit corridor, there squatted Lara with a man and a woman in shorts. Then they were all taken back to the police station. Jeremy looked at me. His first glance was one of pleading. Pleading. When I was locked in the room by him, did I not also plead? I begged him to let me go, considering my genuine feelings for him. I begged him to show some mercy considering the vast fortune I had earned. I begged him to let his mother go for Mario's sake. I begged him. He was completely unmoved. He locked me in that cell like an animal, and I had to lay eggs every day like a hen that lays golden eggs. It's all in the past. I wrapped my arms around myself. Jeremy has a job. Lara has a family. If the two of them don't admit to soliciting, they have to admit to cheating. Either way, in this 90s, both are extremely reprehensible. Moreover, I took pictures of the two of them, from the police breaking down the door to crouching on the ground with my head in my hands. It was all a blur. I met Big Brother outside the police station, and I even took out the wallet of the guest from room 609 and gave Big Brother 200 yuan. To my surprise, there was even a man's photo in the wallet. Goodness. No wonder the wallet was thrown away. This turned out to be a future superstar. Little sister, since you gave me this money, I'll just take it. You don't know how much she used to spend on me without me caring. Now that I think about it, I was really a fool. With this money, I could buy a nice meal of meat for Mom and Dad. You are right. From now on I will watch them get married, and I will see how that man supports Lara. I have a family fortune, and Lara spends 1,000 to 2,000 a month on cosmetics. I want to see if he can afford to support her. Big Brother grinned. Big Brother must be quite wealthy. Otherwise, there wouldn't be many families with a phone installed at this time. Big Brother went in to negotiate terms with Lara. I just squatted outside the police station waiting until it got dark, and only then did someone from Jeremy's workplace come to take him out. Then they handed him a termination letter and left. He turned his head and saw me. Chapter 12. Jessica. He stammered. How are you doing now? I'm glad you're okay. He also started to ramble incoherently. All right. Don't be angry. Come back with me. I'm hungry. I stared at him wide-eyed, thinking how shameless this person could be. Let's talk about it when we get back. Don't do it here. He came over to hold my hand, but I pushed him away in disgust. Jeremy, I'm here waiting to make it clear to you. I no longer love you. It's over between us. From now on, we go our separate ways. A clean break. In fact, I still have many breakup phrases I can use. Are you serious? He wore a gloomy expression. Of course. Am I not clear enough in my expression? I looked at this man whom I had loved for decades in a past life, wondering where his charm had gone. You want to break up with me just because I made a mistake that any man in the world would make? What kind of man do you think you can find after leaving me? He became agitated. Is it because of your looks? Or your diploma? Do you have any idea how many women like me? You still want to leave me? He reached out to grab me, his gaze assessing me as if I were an item for sale. You really have no self-awareness. Why do you insist on making me say it? What do you have to compare with the senior? You aren't even worthy of holding her shoes. Before he could finish shouting, someone grabbed him by the back of his neck. What the hell? I haven't even hit you yet. And you aren't even worthy of holding her shoes. Big brother suddenly threw him aside. Humph. Just you wait, Jessica. I won't let you have it easy either. Jeremy, this face merges with the fierce and intimidating face from my past life. In 2 days, I will be leaving, and I'm afraid of you like a ghost. Does little sister want me to break his legs? Big brother Lara asked me with a smile, and I waved my hand to refuse. Chapter 13. What I didn't expect was that he caused a scene at the magazine office, claiming that Lara was actually Vesper. The people from the magazine office came to verify with me. I showed them my hands, which had just started to develop calluses, and I remembered every detail clearly. Lara was also released. She was holding a draft that I had once written. It was just a different handwriting. I had only shown the draft to Jeremy. He actually gave it to Lara. The people in the magazine office also sat up straight. I wrote Returning Wild Goose, and the title is derived from my own name, Lara. The emotional journey within is the process of my secret admiration for Jeremy. She spoke with both determination and shyness. The people in the magazine office looked at me solemnly, with Lara saying, Miss Jessica, I'm afraid you will have to prove yourself to be Miss Vesper. Oh, let Lara continue to prove she is Vesper. That's more important. Or let her prove that I am not Vesper. I gave a mocking smile. Whoever asserts must provide evidence. It was you who stole my manuscript and submitted it under your name and contact information. Lara looked extremely wronged, tears welling in her eyes, evoking sympathy. Jeremy also came out to testify. I can confirm that this manuscript was written by the senior. Jessica is a thief. The people from the magazine office looked at the three of us, momentarily speechless. Call the police. Since Miss Lara says I stole her manuscript, and the magazine office cannot distinguish, then let's report it. I made my suggestion. The two exchanged glances and nodded. With only 1 day left before my departure, I returned to the police station. Chapter 14. Actually, I did it on purpose. Don't say the handwriting is different. According to Lara and Jeremy, I stole the manuscript and copied it by hand. But this time, I must nail both of them to the pillar of shame. Lara said she only used the pen name Vesper, insisting that I plagiarized both the manuscript and the pen name. I asked her if she had ever used the pen name Vesper to write anything else, and she firmly stated that she had not. So I put down my heavy canvas bag and took out the dozens of stories published under the pen name Vesper in other magazines and monthly publications. How could one possibly succeed all at once without any foundation? Those who become famous overnight are all geniuses. But I'm not. I just keep writing. Those novels that are not exciting enough or not popular enough still have their shining points. It is the continuous accumulation that allowed me to achieve great success with the book Returning Wild Goose. These manuscripts are identical in handwriting to the one I submitted for Returning Wild Goose. I took out more materials to write a book. I reviewed every reference book and the source of every allusion. And in the end, I came up with the outline for this article. Miss Lara, why don't you take out the outline and drafts of your novel, and we can compare them to see if they are exactly the same? I can't believe it. This outline was just completed during those few nights I worked overtime after my rebirth. How could Lara have it? Senior sister is a genius. Writing a novel doesn't need an outline at all. Jeremy quickly interjected. The people from the magazine office all laughed. A million-word hit novel without an outline? The bald editor stared at Jeremy. Comrade, our magazine office confirms that the original author of the novel is indeed Miss Jessica. No matter how talented someone is, it's impossible to write a hit just based on a few sheets of draft paper. Such a person is not a genius. They are a child of destiny. Another editor said emphatically to the public security. The protagonist of Returning Wild Goose is more akin to Miss Jessica's character, rather than the delicate Miss Lara who easily sheds tears. Besides, the bald editor looked at Jeremy. A week ago, when Miss Jessica came to the magazine office to ask for her manuscript fee, both you and this lady beside you were present. Why didn't you mention that this book was written by her? Could it be that you haven't read it and don't know the content? The bald editor winked at me. I knew this was my cue to speak. Comrade Public Security, I want to report that Jeremy and Lara have falsely accused me of plagiarism, causing me significant damage to my reputation and almost leading the magazine office to doubt me. Chapter 15. By the time my third novel was published, my graduate studies had already entered winter break, and the case had yet to go to trial. I am not in a hurry. After arriving in South City, I immersed myself in studying, busily writing drafts. I bought a computer, applied for an email account, and began my journey of writing. I studied Western literature in graduate school, and together with a few classmates majoring in English, I attempted to translate my own novel into English. My advisor promised to help me find a suitable publisher for publication, so I continued to write, writing nonstop. When I finished my fifth book, I finally received the notice for the trial. I have returned here again, as the plaintiff fighting for my own interests. It's only been a year since we last met, but Jeremy is obviously balding, and Lara is not as beautiful as before. Due to the conclusive evidence, he and Lara fabricated and spread false facts, damaging others' reputations, which is a serious offense. Lara needs to publicly apologize in the newspaper and also compensate me for defamation, while Jeremy as the instigator has a 1-year prison sentence. That's just great. Jeremy wants to see me, and I agreed because I also want to meet this man. How would he know that women are not to be trifled with if I don't give him a good laugh? Jessica, I was wrong. Is this how we start apologizing? Lara is not a good woman. She is not just a shopaholic, but also a manipulative bitch. She buys magazines, clothes, and snacks. Who lives like this? He began to shout hoarsely in accusation. Why didn't he complain when I earned all the money for these flowers in my past life? Jessica, I know you truly love me. I have read Returning Wild Goose countless times this year. I know you love me, right? He looked at me as if seeking confirmation. Seeing that I didn't respond, he continued. Jessica, will you wait for me? After I get out, I will celebrate the new year with you. I will make you breakfast and dinner. You just need to do what you are good at. Only after hearing this did I smile. No, you should still live with Lara. You two are like wolves and tigers, unmatched in the world, and she won't allow you to have other thoughts. Don't you know? I left the city a long time ago. I will write more books, and you will see Jessica achieve great success. After saying that, I left. Chapter 16. After graduating from graduate school, I directly stayed at the university. There was a big female protagonist novel that I quite liked, and when it was adapted into a movie, the director invited me to watch the auditions for the male actors. When I saw the few male actors auditioning, I almost burst out laughing. Let him try out for that scene where he catches someone in bed. I pointed at a young man who had been scared into throwing away his wallet after being kicked out by Big Brother, silently thinking, he has experience. I didn't expect that this movie would actually make him shine brightly and leap to stardom. From then on, whenever the director adapted my novels, he often had me watch the actor auditions, believing that whoever I pointed out would become famous. After gaining experience from winning awards abroad, the novels I write are more than in my past life, and the worldview is somewhat grander. In my past life, I wrote mostly about small romances. But now I've incorporated a lot of national sentiment. And the award-winning novels also have science fiction elements. I no longer limit my mind. Even though I earned a lot of money in my past life, it was only about love, which is fine for leisure and entertainment, but not for learning. My goal is to engage in cultural export. The large rear projection monitor was replaced with a regular display, and later with a curved screen computer and a split-screen computer. I kept writing. And finally, a novel I am serializing has started to gain immense popularity abroad. Countless foreigners have started learning Chinese in order to keep up with my updates. Wherever I hold a book signing, people there share their understanding of the characters, and some even try to buy a lot of my earlier novels to get my signature. Because my works can be exported for foreign exchange, I was also warmly praised by my mentor. When my undergraduate alma mater celebrated its centenary, I received an invitation to return as a senior to encourage the juniors. I agreed, returning to this campus that once captivated my dreams. I chatted a lot with other classmates and learned about Jeremy's later life. He, without a job, couldn't afford the luxurious Lara, and their separation was quite painful. Lara didn't divorce him. She left with a foreigner, abandoning their daughter. But 2 years ago she returned to the country and tried to take back the house he currently lives in from Jeremy. It is said that when they initially went abroad, they were never divorced. So she has a share in that house. As for Jeremy, he does care for his daughter, but he is destined to live a very difficult life, raising her alone as both father and mother, working as a temporary worker for decades. I heard he writes some things too, but unfortunately, he feels he hasn't met a mentor. The most bizarre thing is that Lara came back to sue him over the house, and his daughter Alice stood in court saying she wanted to follow her mother. This was the biggest blow to him. He turned gray overnight. He lost the house and the children. When I went to find Jeremy, he was drunk and unrecognizable to old classmates. Then Lara, the senior, was the worst. She sold the house and didn't care where her daughter lived. Just ran off with the money. That's great. This is really wonderful. Whether you feel out of place at school now, or you don't think of yourself as smart, wealthy, or physically strong, don't worry. I was just like that. I spent countless long nights alone, reading, studying, and writing. Those solitary moments are the foundation you build for yourself. When the day finally comes for an opportunity, all you need to do is seize it. Before that, my classmates, all you need to do is study. I have countless things I want to tell those junior students on the anniversary, but what ultimately comes to my lips is still to encourage learning. Do good deeds, and do not ask about the future.